I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Council of the Village of Chase. Held here at the council chamber at the village office, 826 Okanagan Avenue. And via Zoom, April 8th, 2025, at 4 p.m. And I see Councilor Stevens is appearing by Zoom. Number 2, adoption of the agenda.
I'll move that the
Councilor
agenda of
Torvalds.
April 8, 2025 regular meeting be adopted as presented.
Seconded by Councilor Herman. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? That's carried. And just a question to staff. You want Councilor Stevens to raise his hand, or how do you want him to acknowledge that he is yay or nay for a vote?
Raise his hand, same as us.
He raises his hand, that works.
Yeah, I think that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye out.
3.1, adoption of the March 25th, 2025 regular meeting.
I move
Councilor Herman,
that the minutes of the March 25th, 2025 regular meeting be adopted as presented.
seconded by Councilor Connaught. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Number 4, public hearings, there are none. Number 5, public input on current agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the gallery to provide input on items on this agenda. Is there anybody here that would like to speak at this time? We have one. Anybody on Zoom? Okay, state your name and address, and you have the floor.
W.D. McKenzie, 29 Beach Crescent. At the last meeting, it was said that $20,000 is the moon to chase. So why, if $20,000 is the moon, we're throwing away $150,000? $150,000 for hiking trail on Crown land. We need to leave this money in the community. And with the tariffs coming up, doing the boat launch, it's going to cost more than what it's budgeted for, along with a lot of other things. So to me, I think it's a lot wiser to put that money in the bank for whatever this crazy year is going to bring us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Okay, don't see anybody. We'll now go on to number 7, reports, mayor and council reports. March 27th, attended a PHRD meeting, which is the hospital regional district. After that, I attended the TNRD regular meeting, and we have been asked, I just remembered this one. We have been asked to bring a gift basket for Silga. This basket could feature local products. And they want me to take the basket to the April 17th TNRD meeting. March 28th, TNRD Committee of the Whole, we had an interesting presentation by BC Transit. And April 3rd, I met with someone who might be interested in building housing in Chase. Councilor Connaught.
Council meeting and then an in-camera meeting and chit-chatted with a few people around the town. That's what I got.
Councilor Herman.
March 25th, attended the Village of Chase Council meeting. April 2nd, attended the Chase Minor Hockey Awards banquet. And I just wanted to say it was very well attended. This year they had 118 kids registered. 11 kids playing out of Chase in rep hockey, and 11 boys and 2 girls playing rep teams in campus. So that was pretty exciting, and they're on the move up and more kids, which is great. April 7th, attended the Chase Climate Action Committee. And just a couple of highlights of that meeting. There's going to be an organization of an upcoming climate cafe regarding property insurance with a focus on the fire smart and insurance trends due to the climate events. So it should be pretty interesting to hear what the Insurance Bureau of BC, I think it was, is going to be there speaking. April 17th, there's many upcoming Earth Day events with holding school and local schools taking part in events at Chua Provincial Park. And on April 25th, there is a big concert and festivities at Haldane School. That's it.
Thank you very much, Counselor Stevens.
Thank you. I connected with residents about taxes, budgets, quite a few of the agenda items today, and overall community health. I fielded calls and emails as they came in. I communicated back and forth with the Rec Society quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. I reviewed today's agenda and made notes for consideration. I connected with some members of council, and I also emailed back and forth with staff about various topics. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Torban.
March 25th, pre-council met with Lord Stamer, and attended the council meeting and the in-camera meeting. Review agenda, review emails and respond as required, and consult with staff when required and take inquiries. My report.
Okay, thank you very much. And to the CAO, is there anything you would like to add from the staff reports?
Nothing for me, Mayor.
Okay.
Not sure if anyone else has anything to add. Oh, thank you.
Any questions from council to the CAO?
Not the CEO, but I did have one here.
Yeah, well, through the CAO,
No. Oh,
through the CAO.
I'm more into, about the, washrooms. Is there any update or with the Lions? We have it.
Yeah.
To Councillor Connor and the rest of council, so yeah, so we're still in discussions with the Lions, and what they had recently asked us to do was, so originally they put forward a proposal that they wanted, and then we had some discussions with them. Now they've asked us to provide them with some ideas and a proposal and location and whatnot, so we're working to get a draft sort of a design and cost for a year-round washroom, potentially in the Fountain Park, because there's sewer hookup there. There's an electrical box that we have there, so we can provide electricity. It can be open all year round with, a locking mechanism after hours and that kind of stuff. So we're still in discussions.
Sure.
And I just contacted them last Friday to tell them that we're still working through the details, and we'll be back in touch with them very soon. And then once we're all hunky-dory, we'll bring it back to council.
Thank you.
Anything else? Counselor Stevens? No. Need a motion to accept the report. Counselor Connor, Counselor Herman, all in favor? That's carried. Number 8, unfinished business. We have 2025 budget, proposed municipal tax rate and capital project review. Report from the CFO. See, there's a whole bunch of recommendations. Is there anything the CFO would like to add at this time?
I don't have much to add. I did put the tax rates onto a little PowerPoint if you wanted to see that. Oh, I'm sure. Not a lot, just to show you what. So this is where we're sitting at right at this point in time with the operating budget as it was presented. We have the 4.03% increase, which is for existing residents, and then we have the small little non-market change, which nets us an additional $10,000 in additional taxes, which is at 0.43%. That, which comes out to the total of 4.47 for the tax increase. I have not changed the multiples for the business class, so I don't know if you remember the business class multiple basically takes the residential rate and times the residential rate by the multiple to get that factor for business class. So the 2.77 is what we've been using historically, so I have not changed any of that, so they're all still paying relatively the same share. Each class, so what we were historically. The bottom part of this slide just shows you, our 2025 revised roll, what it looks like. And the average taxes that have been paid based on, our tax rate for class 1, our tax rate for class 6, which is business, and then comparing it to 2024 and what that difference looks like for the average assessments here. Did you want me to go through each of them individually, or did you guys have any questions? The one thing I will say is I haven't got the new rate for the major industry yet. That's set by the province, and as soon as I get that, usually it goes up a little bit, so or maybe it won't, maybe it'll go down, and that might change our factor between the tax rates.
That was it.
And then the other thing I had on here for you guys was just a comparison of the average residential from 2025 to 2024 with the average increase. This is in the report. Both of these are in the report. I just brought them up on the screen if you just wanted to see them in a bigger fashion. And then same with the business class, the 2025 versus the 2024 average assessment and the average increase. Now at the bottom, this little piece at the bottom is our proposed rate increases for the water and the garbage and how that would change on a basic 30 cubic meter consumption. If council looks for that. I can flip back and forth between those two slides if you want.
Any questions from council? This is basically what you've shown us here.
Yeah, it's in the report.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
This graph isn't in the report, but that might,
Which isn't in the report?
this spreadsheet is not in
Oh.
the report. This is a summary of the classes and averages for classes.
And do we have the hospital board taxes and all of that yet?
I've got them, I have to calculate them out, so. I've got the requisitions. I only have the hospital and the TNRD, I don't have school taxes, I don't have these taxes. Yes, I have this major industry rate, yeah.
All we're doing is you're just asking us to approve the operational budget anyway, which is what you're showing us.
Correct.
Any questions from council? Councillor Stevens? No. Okay, well, there's a recommendation there. Somebody wants to do it. Councillor Bonnet?
The council approved the operation budget as presented and directs administration to bring forward the 2025 tax rate bylaw at a future meeting.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Torabon, discussion? Okay, all in favor? That's carried, this is Dan's hand is up. Now we get to number 2. And it's a long one. What would council like to do with that one?
Well, we'll just deal with it one at a time, I think. That's what we're supposed to do.
Supposed to?
Yeah.
Well, someone can.
I'll just move that council approves the Mill Park boat launch to be funded as presented through the Joint Communities Fund.
Do I second it? Councillor Herman. Discussion?
Yeah.
Councillor Connor.
Have we seen the final draft of what's going in there? Or we're just voting on what we were talking about, like the war?
Basically, that's what we're voting on, what we're talking
Okay.
about. Mike, have you seen anything updated or?
So through the CAO, we're still basically working on the same direction the council previously gave us. I have received some additional information on some dredging costs and what the cost would be to put a 40-foot extension on the existing boat launch. And so those will be coming forward to council at a future meeting. But we're looking like we're operating within the budget that we have currently available.
Any other questions from council? Are we voting on these
Yes,
individually now?
individually.
Okay. All in favor on number 2? Okay, that's passed unanimously. And then we have another one to do with hiking trails. I just wanted to mention something, there's some, when it says hiking trails, it's. My understanding is it's trails outside of Chase, but it's trails inside of Chase. Is what my understanding was. And the idea would be to feature Chase at the new pullout, but also to feature Chase inside Chase. But the museum has all these great photos, and it'd be nice to put them up, involve the museum, and put some of these historical pictures up around town, because a lot of times trails, you don't build the trail, you just put up a sign here, you put up a location here, and people will walk from one location to the other. So, because I've heard from the community, they're thinking hiking trails, well, it's all to do with the hillside. Well, it isn't all to do with the hillside, it's to do somewhat with the hillside, probably half of it, but the other half's gonna probably involve the museum and the village of Chase, and just to clarify that, so it's not just trails outside of Chase. So with that, I'll make the motion. The council approves the hiking trails to be funded and presented through the Growing Communities Fund Reserve.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Herman. Now we go to discussion.
Well, I'll go.
Councillor Torban?
Yeah, I mean, for the trails outside the community, those are generally taken care of through the trail lines, and they get the grants to upgrade those trails. And I don't think, we should actually be spending money on those trails, because we need to take the funding that comes from the community and put it back in the community. We're going to have other expenses like the arena, we're gonna have upgrades that are gonna be needed, and that money would be better positioned into local stuff than it would be the stuff that's really outside the community. Like you say, we don't know what the boat launch is gonna cost, we don't know what the arena upgrades are gonna cost. $150,000, I think it's better spent somewhere else, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Councillor Stevens, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I've taken so many calls on this topic this week, and I just want to say that I am currently of the same position as Councillor Torbaum. There is some other projects that I believe are going to take priority, and unfortunately, they have come up over the last couple months, and this money is there and available. So until I can see an actual difference or a plan that shows exactly what dollars are going to go into walking trails in the village of Chase and what amount is going to go on the highway, I would not be able to support moving this forward today. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor
Yeah,
Herman?
I'd just like to say that, I understand where people are coming from about the funding for other things, but I also really am leaning towards the trail thing because of what's gonna happen here on the highway. When people are turning in, it would be really nice to have some signage about what's available in town and what's available there as far as hiking trails. Yeah, I think it would be important for economics, but anyways, that's my opinion.
And just to add a little bit more, there's, now more and more with the uncertainty, we need to have things in Chase for people to do. We can't rely on the mill all the time. And tourism is a great thing for Chase. It's already shown it with the waterfall, how many people are going to the waterfall. This probably half of that money is probably going to go to actual trail. The rest is going to be, will be in the village of Chase. And we need to promote, every other town you go into has historical pictures, historical signs. People come to the downtown, they buy a cup of coffee, they have a lunch. It would help the museum out quite a bit. I can see maybe Councillor Stevens, if we laid that out a bit more. If I'm hearing you properly, Councillor Stevens.
Yeah. So like, I want to be very clear that the rationale for me is that I'm hearing a lot of probably and maybes and it might. And I haven't seen any drafting of trails. I don't know of the economic value that it will bring. I haven't seen any overall numbers surrounding that. So I can't move forward with something of this significance without a plan and some drafting behind it. And you know, that was the main concern that I fielded on the phone in the last week, I guess over the weekend, about this topic. Was it needs some more backing behind it. People want more in the village of Chase, and right now that's just what I have heard, and I'm advocating for that today. So yeah, I in full, Mr. Mayor, I think we need a better breakdown of where that 150,000 is going, what it's going to, because in terms of walking trails in the village of Chase and signage, those are undoubtedly incredible things, and we absolutely need those. But we just need a better financial product to show the residents of the village of Chase before we can move forward. That's my thinking. Thank you.
You want to make an amendment to that?
Well, we have
We're dragging it on, Mr. Mayor, let's just get on with the bloody
let's
vote.
get on with the motion.
Yeah,
Let's.
you keep dragging it
You've
out
got your own agenda, but let's get on with the motion before council. That's what we need to do. You
Council.
had your say. Now let's move on with it.
Would you like to make an amendment to that effect, Councillor Stevens? That we-
I think it's
research-
good to go to. Yeah, I think for now I would be comfortable making a friendly amendment that council does not approve the hiking trails to be funded as presented until we can get further information on the actual $150,000 funding allocation and where it's going, because it does sound like some of those things are going into the village of Chase, which is fantastic, and I don't want to close the door on that, but it's the other things that are getting some flack on my end, and I just wanted to be clear about that today. So that would be the amendment, or the amended motion would be to not approve the hiking trails to be funded as presented, and for staff to come back with more information on exactly where that funding allocation is going.
Do we have a seconder for that one? Councillor Herman? Discussion on the amendment.
you're just dragging it on.
Councillor
I
Connor,
don't
hang on one at a time.
You're just dragging this
Councillor
on
Connor.
because you won't give up on the bloody thing. The taxpayers don't want the damn trails, David, for Christ's sakes. There's money that arena's gonna cost a bunch of bloody money, and we need the money, the extra money.
Councillor Torban.
I think the motion was already made.
So we're discussing the amendment.
Yeah, we don't, I don't approve of the amendment. I think the motion is already before council. Let's vote on that. If you want to do something with the hiking trails at a later date, always come to council at a later date. We don't have, we can just deal with the motion as presented right now.
Okay, any other discussion on the amendment? Councillor
Yes,
Herman?
that's the question. How, through the CAO, how does that work if you want to just not distribute that money to a category right now?
I don't, you want to answer that, through the CAO to Councilor Herman, we would just leave that as, money that's ready and available for whatever council determines in the future.
So then we could, in the future, decide to give it to the arena or whatever else. It would just sit there.
Okay, so any other discussion on the amendment? Take it to the vote, all in favor? Councillor Stevens?
No.
No. Okay. Opposed? You didn't vote on either one, Councillor Stevens. Are you for the
Sorry.
amendment? Councillor
I am
Stevens?
not, I am not for the hiking trails.
No, the amendment we're voting on that you made.
I don't think you can vote on the amendment.
I thought we were voting on the original motion.
No, we're
Yeah.
voting on the amendment that you made.
He sucked you in.
Councillor, we're voting on the amendment you made. Can
Except
staff?
for staff, sorry, just for clarity, the amendment is the one that I proposed for staff to bring back
That's
more
correct.
information on where that funding's going.
That's correct.
Yes, I do vote in favor of that motion. Yes.
Is that clear to?
No, I think,
Okay,
personally,
so-
I think what you have to do is you have to work.
So there's no more discussion,
Yes, there is.
all in favor?
You can't do it, you can't do that.
We did vote,
You have to vote on the original
No.
motion first
no,
and then do the amendment.
oh,
after
so we
that.
have our corporate officer gonna clarify for us.
Sorry, I'm managing a number of different things, so
Thank
I'm
you.
paying attention, but I'm not totally on top of this. But who made the original motion?
I,
You did.
Mayor
So
did,
you accept,
seconded
the-
by Councillor Herman.
so the person, the counselor that makes the original motion has to accept a friendly amendment for it to even proceed.
So it wasn't really a friendly amendment, it was an amendment.
It was an amendment.
Yeah, Counselor Stevens had made a motion to amend the original motion. And Counselor Herman seconded it.
Right.
That he doesn't want us to commit until the funding, until we have more information on. Yeah, so he doesn't, the motion is, the amending motion is that we, not to commit the $150,000 until we have more information about where that money would go if it were to go to trans. Does that sound right, Counselor Stevens, that you're asking for council to bring back some more information, or sort of staff to bring back some more information on the trail?
That
before
is-
money would be committed?
That is correct, but I'm just a little unclear of what exactly motion we are voting on.
we're
Because-
voting on the amendment that you made, Counselor Stevens.
That's
But
correct.
because from what I just heard from the corporate officer, that Counselor Torbaum would have to actually accept that amendment.
No, because he didn't make the motion.
No, the original motion was made by the mayor and seconded by Counselor Herman. Then you made an amendment, Counselor Stevens, to that motion, and it was seconded by Counselor Herman. We're now voting on
indeed.
amendment.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, can we start back at that? Well, I guess all in
What
favor.
staff
I guess.
asking us to do here?
Vote on the
Revote?
amendment. So
Okay.
we have Counselor Torbaum opposed. We have Counselors Herman and Stevens and the mayor in favor, and we,
Opposed.
okay.
Okay.
So they were three in favor of the amendment.
Well, no,
And
Jan
two-
hasn't voted yet.
No, he just told us that.
I am in favor of my amendment.
Okay, so what do we do with the full motion? Do we just stay with the amended motion?
So how the original motion would read is that it, as amended, so the council.
as amended.
As amended, so
Okay.
basically, you're not really approving the funds to go to hiking trails until you get some more information.
So we can make
From
that
staff.
same motion that's there as amended? Does
Yes, as amended. And then that needs to be voted.
everybody understand that one? Now we
Yes.
vote on the original motion that I made as amended. Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Okay,
That gives us what we need.
thank you very much. That was a tricky one.
Yeah, you looked it up all night thinking of that one.
There is another one here. Would like Counselor Herman.
I move that council approves the cemetery project as presented to be funded through the Growing Communities Fund Reserve.
We have a seconder. Counselor Stevens. Discussion.
What all is
Counselor Coniff.
this cemetery project? Just gonna be this year and then next year, or?
CAO.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to have, Mr. O'Flaherty answer that question, because I believe he's got a drawing that he wants to show.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So it has been a while since council's seen the drawings and the project. Basically, in substance, what we're trying to do, what council's given us direction in the past to do is buy some updated software. So we purchased Stone Orchard, which is a modern way of taking applications, processing clients. There's a GIS function, so there's mapping attached to it. It's just the state of the art software for our cemetery. council also gave us direction to update the cemetery bylaw so that we conform to the Consumer Protection Act, so that we're applying modern philosophies to cemeteries such as green burials, which don't require plastic liners that will cause microplastics. There's a number of newer upgrades and more options for our clients, people that are purchasing plots and funeral services. So, and the other thing that we've been directed to do is come up with a plan to modernize our cemetery a little bit, give, invest in our cemetery. We haven't done that in a long time. There's been a lot of changes in the world. People have been years asking for scatter gardens, a memorial wall where they can put a plaque for their loved ones. There's just some nicer features that are more contemporary. There's a columbaria as part of this project as well, which is, we're size limited. We're gonna max out in the space we have up at the cemetery. This is a way of adding years and years to the life expectancy of our cemetery. So I just have a quick, I'll just show this here, which shows some of these things. See that, Councillor Stevens? Or no?
Yes, I can. Yeah,
Oh, you can. Oh, great.
I can. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a planimetric view over the cemetery. There's going to be an entrance feature off of Foothills Road, and you walk in. There's going to be some seating. So right now, there's not much in our cemetery for accessibility. If you have troubles walking through uneven ground, there's nowhere to sit. There's one bench. There's a bench, but it's not convenient to, for all grave sites. There's going to be a table, and this is going to be home right here to the scattering garden. And then the memorial wall will be right at the back, right up against the slope. And now there's going to be one columbaria in this project, and that's going to house, I think, about 80 deceased cremains. And there's future room to add 3 more. So for, we have 320 remains, and then there's even more expansion area as well. So I'm just going to run through a couple of these other slides here. This is what the memorial wall looks like. Here, I can see if I can zoom in. We get requests for this all the time. Somebody wants to buy a plaque for one of their loved ones and put it on these memorial walls, and we just currently don't have one. This is an example of columbaria. It's you see that right there? They're called niches, so each one of these little drawers has separate remains, or you could have a couple. Table, bench. Yeah, so this is just part of our sustainability plan for the cemetery for future growth and just responsible overall management of the cemetery.
Councillor Connaught?
So you're taking away lots, put that in.
That's correct, yeah.
So, yeah, and you're taking quite a few lots.
No, like the ratio is like 1 to 100.
And what about the where the highways have all their junk parked and that was put there for existing cemetery? Is that gonna go through? why couldn't all that stuff go down there and sit in there? Instead of taking out the existing plots that they already have, they're already marked out.
Well, one of the things that we've been conceptualizing is to come back to council next year and do a cemetery master plan. So what are we gonna do with that area where the helicopter lands occasionally? And right now, the CIF consultant is storing their, their materials. But we don't have a plan. So it's just vacant, but at some point, we should really put a plan in place. And
I thought
so-
there was one.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did.
No,
I think that's where the, buried, and if you're gonna make a plan, is to put that stuff there. In that area. Then you still have lots of cremation plots down
Any other questions from council on this one? Councilor Torban.
I think the money allotted was around 400,000, I believe, and that's over a 3-year period. It's not all gonna be done at once, right?
That's kind of my,
Yeah, phase project over 2 to 3 years, that's correct, yeah.
and that's kind of my understanding too, Councilor Torban. A lot of times you put money in the budget, but not all of it's gonna be expended. But you wanna make sure you have enough money in there. And not enough, and the best thing I like about this, well, one of the things I like about the cemetery project is right now, I think somewhat we're subsidizing the cemetery out of general revenue. I would like to see the graveyard be more of a standalone, sort of what we did with the garbage truck and other things, so whatever you pay to be buried or to have your little sign in there, that's gonna pay, because right now we have people outside Chase that are getting buried there and we're paying, if the CFO can, if I'm not saying it right, but we're actually, our workers are going over there maintaining it. And while there is a somewhat of a perpetual fund, I don't think it covers, it's covering a lot of the expenses. So that's where the part I would like, I'd like to see the cemetery actually pay for itself.
No cemeteries will pay for itself.
So any other discussion on this one? Okay, all in favor? Was that
I'm voting no, thank you very much.
opposed?
Opposed,
And Councillor Connaught, do you want these opposed?
yes, of course, and the last time,
Yeah.
it never went in that Mr. Conick opposed it.
We'll make sure that happens.
Is that the same with your opposed Councillor
Yeah.
Torban? You want it in the paper and?
Sure.
Should have asked her there. Okay, so now we're on to the First Avenue project. There is a suggested resolution for that. Councillor Herman,
I move that council approves the First Avenue water line project as presented to be funded through the Canada Community Building Fund.
we have a seconder, Councillor Stevens, discussion,
Yeah,
Councillor Connaught,
I'm opposed to the First Avenue water line. I think the water line on over the high school or Haldane School, Cottonwood Street is far more important than putting a loop in and that. There is, I think from our engineering thing, it's even said that it should be, the 10-inch should be going in there. You guys have given it about this thing here, like a 6-inch line puts out 800 gallons per minute, and a 10-inch line puts out 3,000 gallons a minute. And Brian can hopefully contest to this, that there isn't enough flow out of the bloody hydrants there because of the size of the piping. You only get 90 liters a second out of, if you were fighting fire out of that hydrant there. So if that school catches on fire, there's no way they're gonna put it out unless you get there really quick or something like that. If there's a forest fire, and that's, the embers are landing on the roofs and stuff like that. I think the money should go to, put that water line in. not the First Avenue.
So just. You see hand up?
Yeah.
Counselor Herman.
Can I, ask the CAO and whoever, the background be about the First Avenue water line? It's just a little bit.
Public Works Manager.
Through the CAO, so we have had a bunch of different reports, done in the past, and True Consulting looks after our water model for us, and so what the water model does is it takes a look at the overall system and all of the valves and nodes kind of within the system, and pressures within it. And you can play around in that model and create new loops and kind of strengthen your overall system, and it'll give you kind of projected pressures in certain areas. You can change pipes, that sort of thing. So the Chase system, what was looked at by True back in around 2020, was the most recent review. And it did identify a bunch of different areas within the community. First Avenue being one of them, Cottonwood being one of them, where fire flow was an issue. And they've come up with some recommended improvements to improve those the water pressure in those areas. And this First Ave water project has actually been identified to improve water pressures in the Cottonwood area. So this specific project that's coming forward for First Avenue, it's part of it is to actually improve the water pressures on Cottonwood. So we do have a 6-page memo that came from True Consulting to our CFO back in 2000, with a bunch of different recommendations on it. First Avenue again was a priority over the Cottonwood, just because of the fact that it provided improvements over there as well. So I think that's kind of really all the additional information I can maybe provide at this time. But if council was interested, we could bring forward some further information, maybe some of these memos to council at a future date. And show exactly kind of what we're looking at here for that improvement.
The CAO.
I just wanted to ask Mike, is the reason that the First Avenue water project will actually assist some of the water pressures on Cottonwood, is that because of the water looping?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay, thank you.
Councilor Cotton.
It does not give you any pressure. It'll give you volume. There is no more pressure. It will not bring the pressure up. There's 55 PSI down there. There's 55 at the shop and that. And there's 55 over there. It will not give you any more pressure. It just gives you a bit more volume. And if you put the 10-inch in there, it gives you a way more volume. So that doesn't mean anything, that pressure stuff. It does not. And this is way more important than looping that. And probably because there's a crack in the road, administration wants to fix the bloody road, so you're gonna put a new water service in. So this is far shorter and it's gonna be cheaper.
Wondering from the CAO, I see there's a report here written by somebody.
Yeah, it was some information that Marge provided to council.
Would it be okay to have him comment on his report, or? Sure, through the CAO to the fire.
To the CAO, Mayor and Council, thank you. Just on some math and flow volumes that we use for pre-fire planning. If half of the newer structure of Haldane was involved with fire, we would need a minimum of 2,800 gallons a minute. 6-inch main will give us approximately anywhere from 500 to 800 depending on pressure. But we cannot utilize all of that. We always leave a positive 2,500 compound gauge to interact with in case there's any problems. We don't want to cause a water hammer, so we always leave a fraction of error in there. So just in case we don't want to take out a pump or a water main or anything on those lines. So we would, for those buildings down there, for us to adequately fight those fires, even if the structures were half involved, we need a minimum of a 10-inch main. Just to maintain. And plus, we also have to hook up to the FGC's fire department connection for the sprinkler system, which also takes water out.
Councillor Connor?
And also with that hydrant that's down there and it's with the 6-inch line, you're only getting 90 liters a second. Coming out of it, so that's not very bloody much. And if that school goes, if unfortunately, if it burnt, there's nothing saying the government's gonna put it back there. And then you got kids busting the cameras.
Councillor Torban?
Yeah, it sounds to me from the information so far that it would make more sense to improve that 6-inch line to a 10-inch line on Cottonwood and to do First Avenue, and that way at least we'll have the protection we need down in that area. And there, with the school and the amount of traffic down there, it's more important to get that done first. You can always go back and do the other part at a later date. So I would say the Cottonwood should be first. Just with all the information done so far.
Are they the same cost? Can I ask? Do we have that available at this time? Are the two projects the same cost or they're different costs?
Through the CAO, they aren't the same costs. I don't have the costing at this time. The biggest thing that we would need to take a look at on the Cottonwood project potentially too would be whether or not there was any other upgrades that are required at the same time that make kind of sense. That's most likely we would be looking at paving the road and stuff like that. Bridge cuts all over the place. Yeah.
That would be one of my concerns too, is if we go ahead with this Shepherd Road project, there's gonna be a lot more traffic using that Cottonwood Street. So there's probably gonna be more upgrades maybe needed than just a water line. Might make more sense to do it all at once. But any other discussion? Councillor Stevens?
Yeah, I just like, I think I'm in favor of this project. It's, the way I think about it now is like, it's in a year from now, this project is probably gonna cost another 3 times as much. So we have no idea with what's going on down south. Tariffs were mentioned earlier, and we just truly don't know. I think now is a good time to pull the, or bite the bullet on this one. So, yeah, thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? Staff is talking about something.
Mr. Mayor, I just would like to query Councillor Stevens. So I'm not sure which project you're saying we should bite the bullet and do. Are you suggesting the one that we're recommending?
Yeah,
Or-
that's right. Just
Okay.
the actual recommendation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I just
Councillor
want
Herman?
to clarify about so if we do the First Avenue water line as recommended by experts, that also helps the Cottonwood one now. But if we just do Cottonwood, what happens with First Avenue? Nothing, so then, and the issues on First Avenue are what? No water pressure? Or is it the?
Go ahead.
So through the CAO, so the, just quoting, from our consultant here. The Cottonwood deficiency will be corrected by increasing the main size on Cottonwood. So it is in the plan, to do works on Cottonwood and improve the sizing of that main. Having said that, there are other options that exist, which include upgrades on Bell Street. The Cottonwood improvement option, that makes the most sense, recognizing the low pavement condition index rating of Cottonwood. So they're basically saying there are a couple of other options. We can look at the kind of Bell intersection with Shuswap, and some improvements can be made there. to improve, as Councillor Conick corrected me earlier, volumes, not necessarily pressures. In that area, but the improvements on First Ave do have a direct improvement at this point in time on Cottonwood as well. And it really just has to do with looping the water system in our downtown area. So does it provide any improvements to First Ave? Yes, it does. And then it also provides those improvements to the school area as well. And the Cottonwood deficiency of the 6-inch main is included in the asset management replacement plan. Don't have off the top of my head what year that is, but I would anticipate it's within the next about 5 years.
Councillor Conick?
They have it in here that 8 upgrades that are need to be done right away, and First Avenue and Pine Street, though, that doesn't mean, it does not even on here now, but they do recommend, it says Bell Street, which is 10-inch right there, and then it goes to 6-inch, it's the same as on Cedar Avenue going around.
Can we ask?
And that is not gonna make a lot of difference, putting another little loop in there, eh?
What are you referring to, Councillor Conick?
On that one, look, he was talking about that
Well, we
water
don't have that.
on, no, you don't have it, because I have it right here.
Okay.
There's 8 things, there's under the railroad tracks, mains on Shepherd Road, Curry Avenue, Montgomery Place, Bay Drive, Shuswap Avenue, and upgrades to Elmer Road, and the Cottonwood one, eh? First Avenue, because, and it's all pavement down there, so you're gonna have to replace the whole friggin' works. Over there on Cedar, no, you don't, there's a little bit on, Cottonwood.
Councillor Thorpe?
You'll never, ever get that fucking line down.
Councillor
And
Thorpe?
it's important, if that son of a bitch in school goes, because if council doesn't vote for the bloody thing and that, and if it burns to the fucking ground, what do you got then?
We just ask you to watch your language.
Piss on the
Councillor.
fucking language, David, I'm getting pissed off of this.
I know, but please,
I think,
Councillor Torban?
I think what Councillor Herman was asking and Public Works Manager explained, if they do the looping on First, it's not gonna necessarily improve the Cottonwood thing until you change to a 10-inch line. So that's what he said. And so it makes more sense to change the Cottonwood to a 10-inch line first, and then we can deal with looping later on. So that's sort of what I got out of it is that, you know, you still have a 6-inch line, so it doesn't matter what you do in the loop, it's not gonna improve the pressure down there. So I would suggest, it makes more sense to put the 10-inch line first, do the loop later and make those improvements there. Either way, when you're talking about pavement, if you dig up First Avenue, you're gonna have to repave, or whether you dig up Cottonwood, it doesn't matter, either one, you're gonna have to repave.
So just before I go to Councillor Herman, is the First Avenue Waterline project shovel ready to go this year? Do we know that?
Through the CAO, it's not shovel ready to go. Our consultant is currently working on the detailed design of it. And we are anticipating that we would be looking at construction, so.
What about if we did the Cottonwood, we'd have to do more work and it might not happen this year, or?
If we changed over to the Cottonwood project at this point in time in the year, it would be challenging to get it completed
Okay,
this year.
thank Councillor Herman, and then we'll go to the vote.
Okay, I just have a comment about, I'm just curious why we pay money to have professionals and experts give us advice on what needs to be done first, and then we contradict it. I feel like if we paid the money, and I like to think they know what they're doing, that we should consider that. So that's just my comment.
Councillor Conick?
There it is in black and white. This is from True. Saying which ones are supposed to be done, not First Avenue to have a loop.
Okay, so we will have a motion on the floor. And we'll put it to the vote.
What's the vote?
The vote is the First Avenue project. So all in favor on that? Opposed? Counselor Stevens, you didn't vote for either again.
Let's close them.
Oh.
Always throws.
So sorry, I'm in favor. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so. And Counselor Torbon and Coniff, you want your votes recorded?
Yeah.
Counselor Coniff?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for getting through this. Now we're on to the water meters. Somebody want to do that one? Counselor Stevens,
Yeah, I move that council approves the water meters and parks project as presented to be funded through the Canada Community Building Fund.
we have a seconder for that one. Counselor Herman, discussion.
What do you need water meters?
Counselor Coniff,
What do you need the water meters in the parks for? It's just a bloody waste of money. There is water meters in there already. There's one in Memorial Park, there's one in the cemetery, there's one at the wading pool, there's one on Shuswap Avenue. Nobody even looks at them. They're just a bloody waste of money. If the ground is brown, then put a little bit more water on it. I understand that some people want to know how much water we're putting out on the parks and it's just complete waste of money.
Counselor Herman,
I think correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I think we came to this, a while ago because we were hearing from people in the, citizens that we were watering too much, that our sprinklers were going constantly in. And I remember specifically talking about, it would be nice to know how much water we were using in our parks and making ourselves accountable to the rest of the citizens. So,
If we want to be
that's how I was
accountable,
looking.
sorry,
Go ahead.
Counselor
I
Coniff,
think if we want to be accountable and not just turn all the water off in the parks and it'll look like the rest of the town. Just brown. I mean. The girls go, they set a timer, not maybe at midnight for 15 minutes. That's all, I bet you that's all they even put it on for.
any other discussion on that motion?
I just have one.
Oh,
more
Counselor
question.
Herman,
Through the CAO to the public works manager, do we have water meters in all parks as we speak?
Not in all the parks,
Okay.
that's what this will rectify, but we do have, as Councillor Connor had mentioned.
Wilson Park too. The one in there. And those are the big ones that are really putting out the water, so.
okay, so we'll put it to the vote, all in favor of the water meter project. Opposed? Another 3-2 vote, and you guys would like your vote recorded? Counselor Torbon, you want it recorded?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Standing order there.
Okay,
Don't have to ask.
okay,
Perfect.
now we have the administration one. Somebody want to do that one? Counselor Stevens,
Yeah, I move that administration bring forward the 2025 to 2029 financial plan bylaw to a future meeting.
we have a seconder on that one. Counselor Torbon, discussion? All in favor? That one's carried unanimously. Number 3. There's something, so, Counselor Herman,
I move that council approves the change in fee structure for the water service, allowing 80% of the budgeted costs to be covered by flat rates and the remaining budget to be recovered by consumption fees at a minimum charge of 30 meters cubed at 70 cents meter cubed, and that the administration bring the bylaw forward to reflect the changes effective July 1st, 2025.
we have a seconder for that one. Counselor Stevens. Discussion. Any discussion on that one?
Oh,
Yeah, I'll add a little
Councillor
bit.
Stevens?
Yeah, I'll just add discussion just to note that, yeah, I think this is it's a service that needs to pay for itself, and I think that this is a well-drafted motion, so full support.
I just have one question from the public. They wanted to clarify the 30 cubic meters, and that would, the charge, that would just be for meters that aren't working through to the CAO?
Currently, it wouldn't be, or would it?
Until we get the majority of the meters replaced, we would continue to charge the minimum consumption. Once we get to a stage where we're past more meters failing than we're replacing, then we'll set a date and say anyone who's not conforming to getting their meter fixed, because we've been trying to get a hold of people, we'll change that to straight consumption. There would be some timelines put in place.
It's just a temporary measure until the meters,
Yeah.
until we have the majority of the meters fixed.
Okay,
or
thank you.
replaced.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That is passed unanimously. Number 4. There is a recommendation number 4.
Yeah.
Councillor Stevens.
Sure, I move that council approves the rate changes to the solid waste fees and that staff bring forward the bylaw to reflect the changes effective July 1st, 2025.
We have a seconder for that one, Councillor Corbon. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Yes.
I just asked our corporate officer, there's somebody waiting in the waiting room, Sean.
We're good to go. 8.2 development variance permit. Report from Director of Corporate Operations. And Director of Corporate Operations, is there anything you'd like to add to your report? I see you've given us some pages.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. So on March 25th, council accepted the application from the owners at 1955 Denver Road, Whitfield Landing Mobile Home Park, and directed staff to begin the referral process and draft a development variance permit. So what I do is I look at the map. I actually use technology, a GIS map. I create a 50-meter buffer around the subject property. And I identify every address within that 50-meter buffer. And I send them a referral notice that this neighbor of theirs is applying to vary a regulation in our zoning bylaw. They can reply at any time. If they reply before the agenda goes out, this type of information would be in the agenda. But they can reply up until the meeting. They can even attend the meeting and either come in support or in opposition of the application. In this case, we received an email from this individual on April 7th. It is not in opposition to the application, but they pointed out another zoning contravention on the property. So I've updated my recommendation to council to issue the development variance permit, but conditional on them meeting the requirements for vision clearance at an intersection, because if you look at the picture, the fence is too high. It exceeds our bylaw height. And there's a concern that drivers, children on bikes, anyone really entering an intersection will have trouble seeing vehicles or other activities coming on the other lane. So there's a regulation that I've also included in my updated package. There's a 6-meter in each direction from the apex of that intersection, where the fence height has to be lower than, well, it has to be 1.1 meters. But yeah, so yeah, I think I provided all the information. I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Is this one your logo?
So
So there's a yield sign there. You can't see nothing. Fred, with his experience with the traffic. You should be able to find it.
Yeah,
So, Counselor Corbon, you have a question?
yeah, if, visibility becomes tricky, but, if fence is too high and you're driving a car, well, you wouldn't be able to see over that fence, so that's why bylaws are such that, visibility is at its maximum point at intersections. Like if this was at a normal intersection, you wouldn't be allowed to put that in there.
So I'm gonna move the recommendation and then we can get to discussion if that helps everybody. So I'll move the recommendation that the development variance permit number 225-1 be issued conditional on the zoning requirement for vision clearance being met. You have a seconder for that? Councillor Conick, okay, now we can go to discussion. Any discussion on that? No discussion?
Well, as long as they, follow what we're, asking them, that's the main thing.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That is carried. 8.3 award of contract for Bay Drive improvements, phase 1, report from the manager of the Public Works. Is there anything the manager of Public Works through the CAO would like to add at this time?
I don't think so unless there's any questions.
Somebody like to make the recommend, Councillor Conick?
That council award the contract to Bay Drive Improvements Phase 1 to General Assembly, Excavation Limited, in the amount of $328,300 and whatever it was, to be funded by the gas tax reserve. And you won't find a better bunch of guys than General Assembly.
You have a
They do
seconder,
an unbelievable good job.
Second.
Councillor Torbon, discussion? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Number 9, new business temporary use permit. Report from the Director of Corporate Operations. And through the CAO to the Director of Corporation, is there anything you would like to add?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll move that.
Councillor Torbon,
I'll move that council accept the application and direct staff to complete the referral process and prepare a draft temporary use permit that would allow commercial storage on a P2 zone parcel.
we have a seconder. Councillor Herman, discussion,
I just had a
Councillor
question. It says, non-conforming use of land for a defined period of time. Do we define that in, no,
3 years.
it's 3 years? Oh, I thought it was up to 3 years.
is your question to the CAO?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it's going to be a 3-year initial term.
Oh.
And could be renewed only once by council for up to an additional 3.
Sorry, I did read that.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. And the page request for a letter of support. And the Chase Legion. The recommendation there, Councillor Herman,
I move that council provide its support to the Chase Royal Canadian Legion Grant 107 for their application for funding to the TNRD for asbestos removal in their building at 511 Shore.
you have a seconder for that one. Councillor Coniff, any discussion?
Where does that money, does it come out of the, grant money?
No, TNRD.
Oh, the NRD,
Yeah.
oh.
They have a grant funding program.
Perfect.
Does that make sense, Councillor?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All in favor? And it's carried unanimously. Notice of motion, anybody like to make a notice of motion? Okay, don't see any,
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion
Sorry.
that, don't notice a motion that we put that water line on Concord Street.
we just voted, yeah, we just voted on that, Council Tom.
Vote again. I don't, okay,
Yeah,
forget it then.
so we are now gonna go into in camera. We need someone to read the recommendation. Counselor Herman,
I move that council recess to an anytime or meeting pursuant to section 91 -1 of the community charter, paragraph A, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages, and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public.
is that your hand up, Counselor Stevens?
Yeah, I second that, and
Seconded.
I'm gonna have a discussion, sorry.
Okay, second by Counselor Stevens, discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that I
Counselor
don't,
Stevens?
sorry, thank you, I
You need
for the
a,
Zoom, for the in-camera, if you can kindly send me one, I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and that's the end of my discussion here.
What, so can
you
someone
need
clarify
a
what happened?
separate Zoom for him.
Or are you
to-
gonna get another link?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Oh, you can't go on the same one?
so we will, all in
Because this gets
favor?
Put out to the public.
Oh, come on.
All in favor? Okay, we're. Perfect. We are now gonna go in camera. We'll take the 5-minute break. Thank you, everybody.
I think we should.